you can no longer name gamer as a type for your Cavern of Souls play as of the May 13, 2024 banned and restricted announcement. But of course, gamer is still a type in Magic the Gathering. They can't errata it out of the game. And this is coming from the most dangerous gamer. And cards like this are now banned out of all tournament play. We're thinking of Legacy, Vintage, Pauper. I mean, this card was a rare, so not Pauper, but in general. And of course, you can still name it. It's still like EDH, quote unquote legal, and so that's why it still needs to exist in the game. But the May 13, 2024 BNR did a lot for the game, and it did a lot in terms of Pauper as well. But I wanted to talk about a change that's coming to Pauper, something that not enough people are talking about. There's gonna be a bit of a shift in the understanding of card design and what it means to be a common when it comes to Pauper. And I say this from this paragraph right here from Gavin, talking about how there seems to be a card that's going to come in Modern Horizons 3 that Gavin has foreseen will likely require a ban in the format. And I think that's really interesting because it pushes the envelope of card design. It pushes what it means to be a common and what they have in terms of the philosophy for the format. It means they're willing to try different things. And so what I want to do in this video is potentially go over some of the options, some of the cards that we could really be thinking of that could be downshifted, or just kind of the things that we could expect. Now, of course, cards like this aren't necessarily, you know, I may not have all the ideas in the world, but I want to try and use some of the clues that we have access to already, especially in terms of some of the cards that were banned, to see where we could be going with this card. I'm just going to make a guess out of here. Now, I will say that when it comes to the recent BNR change, right? We have something like All That Glitters that has, you know, kind of been banned out of the format. All That Glitters has been a really problematic card in Pauper for a very long time. It's been around for a little over a year, and I'm going to link down Gavin's video on the ban itself, talking about the Pauper changes, and so you can get more informed specifically around that. But essentially, it's a card that when you put it on a lot of creatures in Pauper, you essentially cannot tap out against the All That Glitters player, because all that means is that they could be playing an All That Glitters, swing in, hit you for like 10, 15 plus damage, especially if they put it on something like a Ginger Brute, which has unblockable. So there's a lot of ways that the All That Glitters players can just scam you out of the game. And it's not scam in the traditional sense. Of course, it forces your opponent to have the answer of removal. If you have removal, the All That Glitters players has to try again. If you don't have removal, you kind of just lose the game, which is why decks like Dimir Control are very popular. Dimir Terror, if you will, a lot of removal options, a lot of counter magic. A deck like that is really popular at stopping the All That Glitters deck. But it also was that All That Glitters was popping up in different strategies. It wasn't just affinity. Also, the Boros synthesizer decks and things like that were adopting artifacts or All That Glitters and adopting artifacts to power up the All That Glitters. And it wasn't that hard. Artifact lands are common. There's a lot of them that are available in the format. And there's a lot of cheap, really powerful artifacts as well. I keep saying Mir Enforcer, but apparently the pronunciation is Mir. So Mir Enforcer is also a common. A lot of people keep forgetting this. Frogmite, course, common. Heck, Dotcast is a common as well. So you can kind of tell, for those of you non-Pauper aficionados, how big affinity is in that format. But I think affinity is the direction I want to take. We know from Modern Horizons right now that there is going to be a big colorless theme in this set. There's going to be a big Eldrazi theme, and we knew that pretty early on, not only from spoilers in this set, but also from reveals of artwork. And I think we can now extrapolate that there is going to be a big artifact sub-theme as well. If there's going to be a colorless sub-theme, there also is going to be, by proxy, and some of the clues that we have already, an artifact sub-theme by that note. A lot of colorless things are artifacts. A lot of colorless things are devoid. They're Eldrazi as well. So some of these things will work together, especially with a card like Ugin's Workshop that promotes colorless things, produces colorless mana, and promotes you to have colorless things in your deck to exile underneath it. Heck, something like a Mir Enforcer is specifically why I mentioned it, can be exiled underneath the Ugin's Workshop, brought back later. A Sojourner's Companion, something like that, which also, by the way, is a common banned right now, but heck, another card that is really took over that format. But I think we can guess, based on the All That Glitters ban, because this has been on the radar for the Pauper format panel for a very long time. And the format panel is actually probably one of the better things that exist in Magic the Gathering, similar to the EDH the RC community and all that stuff. There's a separate community or a separate organization that handles the bans and the philosophy around the EDH community, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't really want to touch it. It's not necessarily a sanctioned environment, but they do want to create product for it because it's a very popular archetype or format for people to engage with and buy off of. There's a lot of whales in the EDH community, which is why they want to make product for it, but not necessarily control the rules of it. But that secondary body is a very positive thing for that format, enlightening in philosophy, engaging in bans, unbans. And so we have something similar in philosophy to that in the Pauper format panel. Now, the format panel is more of an advisory panel. It's not necessarily handling bans and unbans and necessarily philosophy. It is kind of driving the direction of it. It's helmed by a group of content creators and just bigger names in the Magic scene that actively play Pauper, engage in the format, and just ideas around the format, and kind of dictate the direction. And so Gavin Verhay kind of leads them. And so that format panel is largely, again, a positive thing for it, but has seen over time the rise of Affinity. Affinity's been around since like way long ago. I remember playing one of the original versions of Affinity way back in 2018. I still have that, by the way. Affinity is one of my favorite archetypes of all time and one of my favorite decks of all time. It is my favorite deck in Pauper. It's been banned out of so many iterations. It keeps coming back because, heck, they keep enabling it, honestly, with those tap dual artifact lands. They keep enabling Affinity. They want that to be an archetype in Pauper, which I think is fine. And with that, All That Glitters was a big test for them. It was a downshift in Commander Masters from last year, especially with some other notable ones as well that have enabled some of my other favorite decks like One Land Spy. And we see these cards making a big impact in the format. All That Glitters made a large impact as well in terms of what it did as a threat. And not only was it a thing for Bogles, but it was a thing for Affinity as well because of the amount of flyers that exist in the format that are very cheap and the amount of unblockable creatures as well, or the efficient unblockable creatures in this format. So All That Glitters made sense as a card that affected that, but Affinity is still powerful. And I think with Modern Horizons 3 promoting colorless decks and Affinity decks, and just artifact decks in general from the clues that we have, it seems that my guess would be that the card that potentially could be banned is probably something related to that. It is probably colorless or near colorless. It's probably something related to artifacts as well. And that would be kind of the idea that I would work with, right? That the idea that when it comes to the clues that we have based on the statement of something being banned out of this format, historically, the things that are being banned out of the Pauper format are combo enablers. They are affinity cards. A lot of the ban list comprises of things like this. And we even have the legality of certain cards like Dark Rituals still available in the format, not being banned, but we have affinity enablers and combo enablers. So if the card that's being banned is a combo enabler, sure, we just don't have any evidence right now to show that there are big common combo enablers, storm cards, and things like that that are coming in Modern Horizons 3. We could be wrong. That could happen in Modern Horizons 3, and then that could be the next big kind of ban. Heck, Chatterstorm, right? Like that was a big experiment for the Pauper format, ultimately banned. Do we see another version of Chatterstorm come out, another storm card? Maybe. My guess personally, with the affinity ban, with All That Glitters being gone out of the format and this affinity deck constantly being iterated on over and over again, my guess is that this was done. This was seen in advance. They've been talking about All That Glitters for a very long time. And my guess is that, yes, they are going to likely bring in another affinity style card, an artifact style card, heck, a colorless style card, right? Because colorless Tron is still a thing in the format. Heck, it's a meme, but Tron is still a thing in the format. So there could be some type of colorless affinity artifact or Tron colorless payoff that exists that's coming down the line. And I think All That Glitters kind of informs that, and especially the philosophy of the format and how it's being kind of routed and the things that we're seeing in Modern Horizons 3. I think we can make an educated guess that's going to be something that helps artifacts, helps affinity, or something like that that's coming down the line in the format. And that will probably mean that artifact hate is going to be at an all-time high. Cards like Gorilla Shaman and just other options that we have against artifact, heck, null, right? Counter target enchantment or artifact. Cards like this are going to be an all-time premium. It's going to be very important to be playing cards like this in your Pauper decks moving forward. And for the immediate future, for the next couple of weeks, obviously nothing's going to, it's just going to be a Wild West for a little bit until Modern Horizons becomes legal. We're going through our spoiler season right now. But of course, things like this are going to be the type of thing that you want to look out for. Maybe kind of invest in learning some affinity right now. Play through some in the league so you understand the lines, understand the ins and outs of the deck. Heck, play through some Tron, understanding the ins and outs. When do they go for their If they're playing colorless Tron, when do they go for their win condition? If you're playing color 5-color Tron, when do they go for their win condition? When do they play their color lands? When do they play their color enablers? Like things like this. Prepare yourself for the archetypes that we are seeing in Modern Horizons 3, especially if something's coming down the line to ban, to potentially be banned out of this as a common. And again, that's all the evidence I have for this. I think that's probably going to be the big enabling idea here. And that's kind of the evidence that I have. I wanted to push that your way based on the clues that we have right now of the marketing materials that we currently have and the direction the Pauper format's being taken, and with the recent specific ban around Affinity. I think it's very clear that it is going to be a colorless payoff, likely an artifact payoff, could be a kind of big whopping colorless like Eldrazi or Tron type of payoff as well. But I think something like that is what we can expect out of this. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you excited for the Pauper format moving forward? If you're a Pauper player, are you sad that all that glitters is gone? Are you excited now that maybe the format is a little bit more open in terms of its aggressive options? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. There's a lot of things that we have to look forward to in the format that we all love, Pauper.